Hello, everybody. This is Paul Carruthers. Welcome to another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice, our weekly MotoAmerica podcast. I'm joined, as always, by Sean Bice, who's out in Ohio. I'm here in Southern California, as is our guest. I won't tell you who it is yet, but you'll know in a few minutes anyway, so you can hold your horses a little bit. You probably know anyway, because if you saw the thing, you clicked on it, blah, blah, blah. So whatever. Sean, how's it going?
It's going well. And Paul, you know how sincere and earnest I am. I mean, I just can't help but be that way. Wear my heart, my sleeve, and the whole bit. And I'm not going to say what this guest that I guess people know we're having on there, but he just told us something. And this guy tells me stuff. And I believe everything this guy tells me, like I believe everything that anybody ever tells me. And I'm so dang gullible that once again, yeah, I mean, I believed exactly what he said. And he's done this to me for years. So. And
you know what? I'm the complete opposite because I don't believe a word he says. So we meet somewhere in the middle, but yeah, I could sense that he was messing with us, and I would also knew that you would bite totally on that.
Oh, so. Completely, every single time,
Yeah. So I know we talk about the weather too much, but I just had to tell you that it was 71 degrees here yesterday. I rode my bicycle without even like any kind of arm warmers or anything, just short sleeves, shorts, enjoyed the sunshine, rode down the coast, rode back, and I'm sure you're not in the same boat. So I just had to rub it in.
No, but you know what's funny about that, Paul? I'm glad you mentioned this because I realized I definitely have seasonal affect disorder. And Ohio's a bad place to be because it's gray like all winter long. And yesterday, I think you know how salty I was yesterday. I was pissed off at the world about So today it's sunny outside and it's cold. It's 37, but I am on top of the world, even though Josh Herrin I said the guest. Well, anyway, even though the guest just tried to hose me and get me to believe something, which is easy to do. But
all right. Well, speaking of Josh Herrin, I don't have a big introduction for him because everybody knows what he's done and what he did and who he is and who he isn't and what have you. But Josh is our guest today. He finished sixth in the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship last year on the Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha. I know he had a disappointing season, what he would call disappointing, but it really got disappointing just because he ended up getting sick because he started out with 3 podiums. Then he had 2 seconds at the Ridge. He struggled a little bit at Laguna, and then COVID happened. And that kind of, took the wind out of his sails quite literally for the rest of the year. He did have 2 more podiums at New Jersey Motorsports Park, but I think, I know he was disappointed because he was disappointed, at all the races when he wasn't on the podium. And I think he was disappointed because he probably went into the season thinking that he was going to, not only do better, but win some races. And to make matters worse, I mean, I don't think there's anything probably more difficult than being on a team when your teammate, wins 17 of 19 races. I mean, that's just deflating. I mean, it doesn't, it's great for your team. You're happy for the team, but you're just like, holy crap, this is like, it's a bit much. And that's what he had last year. That's what he was faced with on his return to that Yamaha team, was the fact that Jake Gagne, as we all know, had just an incredible season and pretty much left everybody in the paddock other than Jake Gagne feeling a bit frustrated. So it's not like Josh didn't have company in feeling the way that he did. But anyways, Josh, I want to start out with you something more important than motorcycle racing, and I want to ask you how fatherhood is treating you.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for that awesome introduction there, Paul. A lot of positivity.
See, he was messing with us. I thought for a second, I'm like, damn, Josh Herrin's about to compliment me, and then he just snatched it right out from under my feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
just throw me in the ringer there. Damn.
No, come on, dude. I thought I made you sound really good.
Oh man, yeah. Fatherhood's been good. I don't know if I would. Man, it doesn't seem like fatherhood. It's been, there's a lot of late nights. Rachel does most all the late nights, but it's, lots of late nights. But which has actually been really good because now when I went to this test at Daytona with the team, made waking up early seem like I was sleeping in. So that was nice. But it's been amazing. It's nobody could really you know, prepare me for how good of a feeling it would be to be a father and to see my wife Rachel be a mother, and it's been pretty pretty life changing to say the least. And you know, even on the racing side, it's made racing fun. You know, it hasn't been fun for a while, and I think Griffin has somehow made racing seem fun again. I don't know if it's because I'm excited for him to see me race in the future or what it is, but it's been great, you know, at home and at the track, and you know, nothing but positive things to say. And I'm definitely not. I had so many friends and fans and family tell me, "Oh, just wait," and I keep waiting, and there's not one negative thing about it. It's been it's been nothing but good things, and yeah, it's just getting better by the day, it seems like. So I'm definitely happy, and yeah, ready to be able to bring Griffin to the track, that's for sure.
Well, the bad parts is the parts where you pick him up and hand him to Rachel.
No.
And I know how that works. And you also did mention that she's the one that gets up in the night, which is the part that sucks the most. So
it's we've been so lucky. He turned 4 months a couple days ago, and he for the most part he's sleeping 10 hours a night. I mean, he goes to bed at, you know, 8 o'clock, 8:30, and wakes up at about 5. You know, 9 times out of 10 I wake up for the morning feed, which is usually about 5:30 or something. But you know, there's nights like, I think Rachel's always, you know, she seems to get up a lot during the night anyways before we had the baby, but now it seems to be a little bit more. And you know, every time you wake up, maybe you hear him make a noise, so she sits and stares at him and makes sure he's breathing. And
right.
you know, so she is up a lot during the middle of the night, but she refuses to give up that side of the bed. He sleeps on her side of the bed, and she refuses to give it up. So I blame her for getting woke up all the time.
That's how moms are. But the only advice I can give you is with dealing with a baby is to have a schedule and stick to it. Like as far as when they go to bed at night, it sounds like he's already a good sleeper. But if you get them used to the fact that they go to bed at 8 o'clock or what have you, you know, it's something that you can keep through their whole, you know, childhood. And it definitely helps when they're set. You know, I've had friends where their kids are up until 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and they don't have any time to themselves, you know?
Yeah, I can't remember. I mean, I'm sure Rachel would remind me whenever I get off the phone, but you know, I can't remember a time where he wasn't asleep before 9 o'clock. She's really good about getting him to bed on time, and he does, you know, like I said, wakes up at 5, we feed him, and then it's pretty much every 3 hours he's got that internal alarm clock down to a T. You know, every 3 hours, you know, he'll give you 5 minutes. Actually, he'll give you about a minute of warning, and then it's screaming, "You better feed me." So he knows every 3 hours for sure that it's time to eat. And yeah, we've done pretty good at sticking to it.
Hey, Josh, I want to ask you about last year, because, you know, throughout your career, I don't think you're one that seems to be taken aback by circumstances too often. I just, from my point of view, I know I have to have all my ducks in a row, as I'm sure you can tell. Everything's got to be right, and if any one thing isn't right, it throws me off my game completely, you know, my concentration. You had so much going on last year. I mean, obviously the impending birth of Griffin, but also you haven't been married that long, even though I know you've been with Rachel for a while. But you know, the whole thing with the team, and then, you know, the COVID situation. Did any of that affect you in any way, or do you just kind of blow that off and just focus when you're on the racetrack? You just are able to focus on racing and you're good with it?
No, I mean, I don't think there's anybody that, you know, can look you in the eyes and be honest about the fact that they say that, you know, stuff doesn't affect them. I don't think not even 1% of me was affected anything by, you know, having knowing that a baby was coming. That definitely doesn't. The only thing that may have affected me with that was whenever I got COVID, and I was just worried, you know, about Rachel and the baby getting COVID as well. But if anything, you know, Rachel and and now Griffin just makes tough situations better. I think Rachel's always done a good job about that, just being in my corner, and whenever stuff is going the wrong way, she's always there supporting me and trying to pick me up. But I also put so much pressure on myself that I think that's what hurts me the most. If I'm not having fun, it makes racing really hard. And whenever you're not having a good year, or when I'm not having a good year, it seems to pile up pretty quick. I've usually been pretty good about getting myself out of those situations, but last year was just really tough. And there's, I would say, lots of reasons, but it was a tough year, and I'm happy to be where I'm at now, and really excited to move forward, and yeah.
You definitely did the right thing, Josh, just in talking to your former teammate and your rider coach, Josh Hayes. He's probably told you this. I mean, he's trying to keep his racing going and kind of get it going again, because he wants Hawk and his daughter to also to be able to see him race. And he laments the fact that he kind of had babies and children after he kind of the majority of his racing is done, but you've still got a lot of racing ahead of you. So was that a plan? Did you want to do it that way? And has Josh ever told you that he wishes he would have had a kid maybe earlier, or kept his racing going?
I don't think he's told me that, but it was always something that I wanted. I feel like I was, it was definitely planned. I mean, Rachel and I were trying to have baby, and it's always something that I've wanted. I've wanted to have a kid and bring him to the races. I want him to see dad, hopefully winning some races. I obviously grew up idolizing my dad. He was raced AMA a couple times, but for the most part, I grew up watching him race at Willow Springs from, I was born in 1990. So right from the time I was born, I started going to Willow Springs, and he quit racing in 2002 or 2003. And, after that, it was, we moved to Georgia, and Aaron Yates started coming riding at our house. And I saw, how Ashton, his son, grew up watching Aaron win races. And it was for sure always something that I wanted in the back of my head. I think, it's just cool being able to see your dad do something. You have those days where, it's bring your dad to school day, and they talk about what their job is and all this stuff. And, my goal someday is to, be able to go into school with my kid and have him tell everybody that his dad's a professional motorcycle racer. And not only for that, but just to see him excited and see me chasing my dreams and motivate him to do the same thing. I don't want to have him born whenever I'm done racing, and then it seems like I'm just lost and trying to find my place in life. And so I think it was perfect timing. I think perfect timing to have a baby, especially with this new team, and it's everything is going great, and I'm really happy with life right now.
One more thing on this subject, Josh, and this is something I absolutely greatly admire about you, and it's the fact that you've always been oriented towards kids and trying to help them. Obviously, you mentioned the Herrin compound and all the kids that have come up through in our paddock that have been there and still go there. But even the kids in Mini Cup like Jesse James Shedden, and I know you've always been oriented towards helping kids, and this is your own kid, so we know you love kids enough to want to have your own, and I'm sure you're going to be cool about whatever the kid wants to do is fine. But obviously you're probably going to want to get him a Strider or a Stasic or one of those and go from there. So you've got to be excited as he grows to, get him involved a little bit more in the sport that you love. Is that true?
Yeah, it is, and it isn't. It's like you said, I've always been into, I think it started when I was a kid. I like I said, idolized my dad as not just a person, but as a racer. And whenever I was, 10, 11, 12 years old and going to AMA races at Fontana or Auto Club Speedway, whatever you want to call it, even Willow Springs, seeing guys come and race there. But it really started when I was probably 12 years old. I went to a race with my dad at Auto Club Speedway. He was racing, I think he was racing 750 Supersport. And, I went around with my leathers for 2 years in a row and would ask riders to autograph my leathers. And, there's lots of stories I could get into, but the one that stands out the most was Jason DeSalvo inviting me into his motorhome at the time. It was just him and his dad. I think the team was it called American Racing or was it called Alien Racing? Do you remember, Paul?
I don't remember that.
That's when he had the red, white, and blue, the little RS 125, right?
Yeah, I think it was Team America Racing.
Yeah,
it was. I think you're right. Yeah.
And he had so they invited me in their RV, and I remember he brought me in. He asked if I wanted to play MotoGP, and I was big into playing the video game MotoGP at the time. I think that would have been MotoGP 3 at the time, as it was like 2012. Actually, MotoGP 2, it was 2012, and or I'm sorry, 2002. Holy cow! And I remember I went in and I was all excited, and he had in the RV, it had a carpet ceiling, and on the ceiling it had all of his knee pucks. So whenever he was done with a knee puck, he'd stick it up on the ceiling of the RV, and he'd pull the knee puck down. It was made by Asphalt and Gas, I think is the company. Josh Hayes used them his whole career. They're made out of leather, and it was in the shape of an alien's head. So it had like the eyeballs and everything, and it was all worn down. He signed it, gave it to me, and there was some racers, that I won't name, that as a kid, no matter what happened, I still looked up to them, but they didn't have time for autographs, or they didn't, or I couldn't even find them at the track or whatever. And I was always bummed, like, man, I didn't get his autograph. And so from a young age, I've always been into, talking to the riders and trying to get autographs and collecting as many posters as I could. So I always wanted to be good at doing that. And I remember, we had a friend, Leonard Melgren, growing up, that told me, he saw me one day, like as a kid, like trying to figure out an autograph. I think I was like 13 years old, and I was like signing. He was taking me to Japan to go and watch the Motegi MotoGP race, and we visited HRC, and I was like on the plane signing autographs on a piece of paper. And he thought it was funny, and he's like, your autograph will never stay the same. The more famous you get, it's going to change, because you're going to be lazy and you don't want to sign the autograph the same. So my whole life, I always wanted two things. I wanted to be, popular with fans and kids, and I wanted to keep my autograph the same. And I've done both of those things, and I think I'm, pretty popular with our group of fans. I'm not saying all over the world, but our MotoAmerica fans, I'd say I'm, pretty popular with, and I try to be, I try to talk to them as much as I can. So I know I went into long story there, but it has always motivated me. Kids always motivate me, and seeing them come up and be pumped to be able to not only talk to you, but maybe give them 5 minutes of your time and hang out with them. Or, if everything goes right, you get to go and ride with them. And it is very exciting. And so with Griffin, it was kind of weird when Rachel was pregnant. We were saying we never want him to really race motorcycles. It would be cool if he was into motorcycles and was good enough that if we had the chance to go and ride with his friends or whatever, that he would be fast. And, I read something or heard something on a video one time. I don't really want my kid to be great at things, but I want him to try enough things that he's never at a disadvantage. Like, he can be good at basketball, baseball, golf, racing. So I obviously want him to do what he wants to do, but if I had it my way, I would like him to just be pretty good at everything, so that he never felt out of place and could just kind of fit in with any group of people. So whatever he chooses to do is what I'll support him in doing. But for sure, we're going to have a Strider, and probably I already got a PW50 for Rachel's cousins this year, and hopefully that bike will get passed down to Griffin whenever he's ready for it. But racing makes me nervous. It's a hustle, and my dad put so much time and money, and my mom did, into me growing up, and I know how difficult it is. And now me being, I've been racing professionally now for, I think this is my 15th or 16th year, and it is a grind. And if I wouldn't have had social media happen, I'm sure that my career would have been a lot harder than it has been to make money. I've been very lucky that for those 16 years, there hasn't been one year where I haven't made money racing motorcycles, and not only make money, but making enough money to pay all my bills and be able to do things that I want to do. So I've been very fortunate in life, but it is very hard. And it's really hard sometimes reading comments from people. Like, I grew up on the Wira forums, searching my name, just seeing what people were saying. I was excited as a little kid, seeing like, wow, there's people talking about me. But then I'd go on there and see them talking shit about me. And my dad and mom would always say, don't read that stuff, don't respond. But I would always go on there and respond, and I wouldn't say anything mean, but I would just defend myself. And that's what started, I think, people really, maybe, I wouldn't say becoming a fan of me, but respecting me. I'd go on, every week, and I'd respond to somebody saying something bad about me. And then when social media came, it was just natural. Like, I was like, oh, this is kind of like the Weira forums. Like, I just, it wasn't always talking shit. I'd go on there and just talk to people, and it makes it fun. These people are people that love our sport. Like, they love it enough that they buy the things that we wear just because we wear it, or they buy the motorcycles that we ride just because they're what we ride, and they pay money to come watch the races, and they pay for subscriptions to watch it on TV. And they're the only reason why we're able to do what we do. So it's a long story, like I said, but going back to the Griffin, I want him to grow up seeing that. I want him to see this whole thing. And if he wants to get into racing, great, I'll support him. And hopefully, because of what my dad did for me, and now what my career's been, and hopefully I can do those things for Griffin, but it'll be a little bit easier than my dad had to do it because of all the connections that I now have. And just hopefully it just keeps going on. There will always be motorcycles in the Herrin household, though.
That's great.
Well said, Josh.
Yes.
Very mature outlook from Josh Herrin today. I like it. All right, Josh. So talk about some changes. For next year, you're changing classes, you're changing motorcycles, you're changing teams. There's basically nothing that you couldn't change that you haven't changed. You're going to be on the Warhorse HSBK Ducati New York Panigale V2. I know you've had a chance to ride the bike on the street. I believe I've seen that on your social media. And last week, you got the chance to ride the bike at Daytona International Speedway, where obviously we're going to open our season with the Daytona 200 using Supersport with the new rules that we've taken from FIM. That's going to see a lot more manufacturers racing in our series, including Ducati. They've obviously chosen you to do the heavy lifting and to take on this new project with the V2 racing in MotoAmerica Supersport. So tell us a little bit about how the test went and what your impressions are of the motorcycle.
Yeah. So like you said, I have a stock V2 at my house. So I've done some street riding on it, and then I rode a V4 for the first time at Laguna, and then rode a V4 Street Fighter in New York City with the shop, and then got to ride the Multistrada Pikes Peak and Palm Springs. So I've been trying to ride as many of these bikes as I can so I can get used to the way the engines are and stuff, and just electronics on them and all that kind of stuff, and the clutches. And it's been pretty exciting. I think I rode more Ducati models than any other brand just in the last month. And then like you said, we went to Daytona this last weekend for the ARMA race, which was very, very interesting because as I'm sure you know, I still don't even understand, like most motorcycle riders, I don't really understand the differences in engines and all that stuff. But for the ARMA stuff, it seemed like it's mainly a lot of vintage stuff, and then a lot of twins. So, and then there's the air cooled and there's water cooled bikes, and I don't know for a fact, but I think we ended up doing like a 149.8, and I think the second place guy was like doing high 50s, and that was second place. So imagine last place was doing 20-30 seconds off what we were doing. And it was, I don't want to say it was scary because I never was scared, but it was crazy how, like, it was worse than going to a track day as far as closing speeds. Because when I go to a track day, I'm on a street bike, so I'm not like pushing really hard, and it's a short track. Daytona with slower than track day pace was just insane. I couldn't believe the closing speeds on the banking. I felt like I was playing Frogger on the banking, going 175 miles an hour, like leaned over. And not that, but you're like tucked in, looking through the top of your visor, so the vision's already poor. And it was nuts. So it wasn't like the ideal place for testing, but we're going to go into Daytona being the only team that's, had laps at Daytona this year. So I'm really excited that we went. It was, when I signed with this team, I told Bobby, that the team manager, he owns a team. I'm not really sure what the title is, but he's the guy in charge of the team. I told him, I said, this year is all about having fun. Like I have to smile. I got to have fun. I can't have, you know, a bunch of pressure, which I can. I feel like I ride okay with pressure, but I just wanted it to be fun. Like that's the main focus, is like, in order for Josh to do good, we need to have fun. We need to be smiling at the track. We need to be going out to dinner with the team every night. We need to be having some drinks. Like we got to have a good time. And he's like, all right, yeah, that's what we're going to do. He's like, obviously we both want to win, but we'll make it a fun environment. So I show up to the hotel, and he told me there was some guys from Italy coming, and we're talking about Daytona now. He told me there was some guys from Italy coming. And so just kind of gave me a little heads up. And I walked into the lobby of the hotel. I flew with my mechanic, who some of you guys might know from track days out on the West Coast or some racing, Fuzzy. And so I flew in with Fuzzy, and my other mechanic is Cody, who is Bobby Fong's mechanic for the last couple of years. So I fly in with Fuzzy, we land, we go to the hotel, and when we walk in, there's like fucking the Ducati MotoGP team there. I'm like, what is this? Like, literally, like Paolo Chabati's there, which already is like, whoa. Geraldo Faraci's there, who he's a part of our team, but that's another dude that's just like, holy shit. And then you have literally my crew chief is Fabio. I'm gonna butcher his name so bad, but Fabio Di Gianantonio.
That's right.
Is that how you say it? That's right. So he was his crew chief in Moto2 last year. They won a race in Moto2, so that's my crew chief for the whole year. Then you had Scott Redding's crew chief for the last 3 seasons. He was there. He'll be the head guy for the day. He's like in charge of the V2 program worldwide right now, but he'll be like one of the head guys for us at Daytona for the 200. And then you had a data guy from Factory Ducati who works with MotoGP. You had the Ducati Factory World Superbike team, his engine builder there. I had a Ducati MotoGP mechanic there who's going to be the Superbike mechanic for the team, but he's helping with Daytona. It was just the list goes on and on and on and on. And it was what I thought was going to be tons of pressure and not fun, because now it's like, wow, we have a way bigger role in developing this bike and being successful this year than I thought. But it ended up being the best test I've ever had in my life. And I'm not just saying that because of Ducati's support. I'm not trying to like be the guy who I think a lot of people think I've been in the past, where I'm like, this is the best bike, you need to buy this. And, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, took me the wrong way. Like I'm a motorcycle racer. My job is to sell motorcycles. When I go to a new brand, like I need to sell motorcycles. They're all good bikes. I've never, you know, no bike obviously that's going to win professional races is a bad bike. So when you go to a new bike, it's like, wow, this is the first bike I rode other than a Yamaha, or wow, I've never rode a BMW before. Like all these bikes are great bikes, and I'm just showing what they're positive, all the positive things in these bikes are. So, you know, I think a lot of people like misunderstand me for that. And it's like, dude, I got to make a paycheck just like you guys do. And I'm not lying about it. I'm just telling you the good things. I'm not telling you all the bad things these bikes do. So I don't know why I went off on that right there, but it just, this was a very good test. I felt so comfortable. All these Italian guys, I went into the season thinking that Fuzzy and Cody, the 2 American guys, when they told me they were going to be the mechanics, I'm like, sweet, these guys are going to bring out like a lot of good energy in the team. They're good. They're fun to be around. They always say hi to me and Rachel at the races. And no offense to Fuzzy and Cody, but they were the 2 most boring guys on the team. Like these guys brought out so much fun, and we went to dinner every night. We had a good time. And like at the track, obviously this is a new bike on the racetrack. So they're having growing pains. We're trying to figure out all the different things going on, and you know, we're not going to go too far into everything, but it was just, you know, I think also where those guys stressed out because maybe if something went wrong with the bike, like we had a clutch that fried because we're on a stock clutch still, because there's no other clutches available right now. So we had a clutch fry at Daytona because we're doing, you know, multiple starts, and the bike's getting hot because it's a club race and it's sitting on the grid forever. And these guys are stressed out, and I think they felt bad about it, but I think just, you know, the more I race and the more seasons I have under my belt, it's like, okay, just, it's a new bike, Josh, like stay calm. And they respected that so much. And we were able to finish the test and with a very respectable time. Obviously I have the lap record there from 2 years ago. It was a 48.3, but conditions were perfect. We're with a bunch of fast riders. They're putting rubber down. You know, like I said, this was track day pace. I'm literally like 50 people on the track at a time, and I'm swerving in and out of them. So we don't really get any clear laps. We got less than 30 laps on this bike. I mean, literally less than 30 laps over 3 days on a bike that has never been to Daytona. So there's no data there. Don't even know what gearing to run. Like, there's just so many question marks. And we were able to get down to a 49.7, I think, or 49.8, which was the fastest lap of the race from the Daytona 200 in 2021. So for us to have less than 30 laps on this thing and to be there, I think goes to show, like, these guys, the crew, I all of the, you know, credit I give to the crew, because they worked so hard to be able to, the schedule is so weird. And like, if we had one problem with the bike, we missed 2 sessions because like practice sections were so short. So we'd miss so much track time just because of that, the schedule. And they were able to get everything fixed and get ready. So we'd make one race for the day. And it was just such a fun time. Like, where normally everybody would be so stressed out, these guys are like taking work serious, but they also know, like, we need to have some fun. Like, we got to laugh about this. We can't just be mad about it. And because of that energy, like, the whole team just worked so well and fed off of each other. And it just made it so fun to be there. It was the first test, for sure, the first test, but I would say the first time overall, it doesn't matter if I was racing or testing, that I was looking forward to leaving the house to go and meet everybody and ride this bike. It was the first time that I rode a bike on a Friday, and I was pumped to come back the next day. And it was the first time in years that I left on a Sunday and was wishing that I could stay and ride more. And I was looking forward to the next time I got to ride. And it's exactly what I told Bobby that I was looking for, was to have a good time and enjoy myself and smile and feel like I could go and have a beer with the team and just enjoy the moment and be happy to be racing motorcycles. And I'm just pumped to be, you know, moving forward with these guys and hopefully having a good year.
So Josh, you've done a lot of laps at Daytona on a super sport level bike, and you've done a lot of laps, or quite a few laps, on this new V2, and you also had a street bike version of it that you rode at Laguna Seca at the Invitational that was out there, the Velocity Invitational. I know you couldn't really judge it too much from that, but from what you've ridden of the bike so far and what you know of super sport, especially around Daytona, what would you say are the things that bike, that Panigale V2, does exceptionally well compared maybe with some other bikes you've ridden?
To be honest, you know, when we first started riding it, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, whoa, this feels weird, right? I mean, it's a totally different engine than anything I rode before. It's the first single-sided swing arm I've ever rode before. With just even looking at it, like, the shock is in a weird position compared to anything I've rode before. So it was just like a whole new thing. So it was very strange at first, but once I got going on it, and it's hard because the bike is so much different to like really say like, oh, it did this way better, it did that better. But the biggest thing, once we had to work on throttle delivery quite a bit. Like, we were having some issues with throttle delivery, just getting it to where I was comfortable with it. And once we got that fixed, because the guys worked really hard to get that done, and once we got that to where I liked it, I shouldn't say fixed, because what I was looking for, the bike was just so smooth. I mean, that, I don't know if it's that engine. I rode an XSR 700, which was a twin. It's like a naked twin that Yamaha makes, and just wheeling that thing was always fun to me. Like, I enjoyed riding the bike. There's something different about riding a twin. Like, whenever you're full lean on it, you have to ride it different. You really have to commit to turning the thing and getting it to the edge of the tire. And until you kind of understand that, it's really hard to explain what it is, but the bike doesn't want to, for some reason, it's like that middle point. If you're like, you know, cruising on the street, the thing rides great. If you go to a track day and you don't, like, you have to like tell yourself, like, okay, it wants to be on the edge of the tire. I need to just let it do it, right? Like, trust it and get it to the edge. Until I trusted it to do that, it didn't, like, I couldn't get like super comfortable on it. It wasn't that anything it was doing was bad, but it was just a different feeling that I'm used to. And it really just wants to race. I mean, that's the bottom line, is this thing wants to race. It wants to be leaned over and just kind of abused. Like you got to get your body off the bike. You just got to do what you want to do with the bike. And once I learned that thing was really good. And it, like I said, getting less than 30 laps is pretty hard to get accustomed to a bike. And, so I would say for us to do that time speaks, quite well for the bike. And, yeah, I just had fun on it, like leaving the pits, doing wheelies on it. I remember like coming into the pits, because there's no pit lane limit, for those races or at that event. So coming in, I was just like 6th gear wide open and come around Daytona turn 4 and or the oval turn 4 and just come in backing it in, and all the guys were like right on the left, obviously on hot pit wall, and I had it cranked so sideways that it was just pointing straight at them, and I could see all of them just like trying to figure out like, oh shit, I'm trying to like find out where to escape this right now because something's wrong. He's coming in sideways, like it looks like I'm gonna run right into him. And so the thing, like obviously, like I love backing in bikes, and it was backing in like just so smooth and so fun. So like I said, just going into the year, if I can have fun, I'll do good. And this thing wheelied and backed in really well, and I was able to go fast on it. So that's all that matters to make me happy. And yeah, I think that was something I really missed out on the last couple of years, just wheeling bikes. I mean, you don't realize how happy wheeling a motorcycle makes you, and if you can't do it, it's like kind of a bummer. So I really enjoyed just wheeling this thing and just getting used to the crew and everything. So yeah, I would say the engine for me was probably one of my favorite things, just how smooth it was and how torquey it is and the sound of it. Like Paul, I'm sure maybe both of you, but if you ride a motorcycle that like sounds good, it just makes you have fun. Like just listening to that grunt coming out of the corner or just revving it, like it just makes you smile and makes you have fun.
It's funny. This is a little bit of a comparison, but one of my favorite bikes to ride at home is my SRX 600, which is, just this big single. And it's that feeling of just, the torque and just twisting the throttle. And your bike, that V2's got such reciprocal mass that, turning it's interesting because the gyroscope effect in the middle of it. But I want to ask you about that bike, another aspect of it. So obviously when we heard about this Supersport next generation and we see the Panigale 955 V2 is on a Supersport next generation list, and we're all thinking, well, hell, a 955 was a Superbike not that long ago. But we think back to when you were in Supersport and Daytona Sport Bike before, you had to go up against a Buell 1125R V twin, and that was a crazy bike, and it was like you were doing everything you can in the corners. And unfortunately, that class, that Daytona Sport Bike was one that you really wanted to win. And I think we can equate that to Supersport. Do you feel like with this bike, this is a chance for you to take care of some unfinished business? And there will be balancing with this bike, but do you feel fairly confident that this package is going to be something that you can definitely do something with in that middleweight class, as they, so to speak, even though that bike's not really middleweight?
Yeah, it's for sure going to be a bike that we can win races on. I'm comfortable on it already. The team is great. And like you said, we had to race against Ducatis and Buells back in the day, which I don't remember what you just said that CCs were, but I know it was at least an 1100 CC Buell. And, we were able to beat that thing. And you got to ride them totally different. This bike, you got to point and shoot a lot. It's you have to get into the corner. I think maybe that has to do a lot with it not really loving, being, you got to get in, brake, get the thing, turn and go, because it's torquey. It likes that's where you're going to make up time on this bike versus say an R6 or something. But I don't know what top end's like or whatever. I don't know, but I would challenge anybody who, I see a lot of negativity about this class. I would challenge anybody to go out and just try and do the same times that you're doing on the R6, because I don't think that, like a lot of people are saying, oh, this bike is unfair for that class. And it's not. I mean, there's a reason why they put it in the class. There's a reason why FIM believes that it's a bike that's fine for that class. And yeah, it's going to be good racing. I don't think we're not going to be walking away from anybody on the thing. And, it's tricky to understand how to ride this bike. And I think it will be competitive. Yeah. But like I said, are we going to be walking away from anybody? No, it's going to be hard all year long. And I hear that there's a chance that even now Suzuki is going to be running 750s, which like, I don't understand, but it's like now, what about the R6? So now they have to come out with a 750 or something. Like it's it's not like everybody thinks. And that, you know, us going to Daytona and doing the lap times that we did shows. I mean, we're on the same bikes that the guys last year that did the 200, we're doing the same lap times as them. And whenever we went, we were on good tires also. Like Dunlop had some good tires that we were running. It wasn't probably not even the tires we're going to be running for the race. So it's yeah, it's going to be hard work. It's not like everybody thinks it is. So look at the CCs. Well, it's a twin, man.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about them, but I know it's different. It's not like I'm going out there on the V4. That's not like what it feels like. This thing isn't, you know, it's a great bike. I had fun on it, but it's not like a freaking super bike for sure.
You know, it's so different to see in these different colors, or, you know, the post of you with Chibati, with Chibati, and you were all with Ducati red and all that stuff. And it's like quite a change for you because you saw so much blue with you before. But I want to ask you a little bit of something. This is a little bit out of left field. I am not really into Eastern religions too much, but I do know that in I think it's in India or in some of these religions, the third eye that they talk about is on your forehead, and it's supposed to see into your soul or something like this. You've got this character, this melting smiley face with a third eye in the middle. What is that, some kind of cosmic like Eastern religion thing, or am I reading too much into it? What's going on there?
It's just something that me and my buddy John have fun with. It's you know, I think if you look back at the Yoshi year, I had the all-seeing eye on my hump. You know, if you look where now the American flag is, I had the eye there. And it's just, you know, in 2018, I wore, you know, I had the all-seeing eye like necklace every time I race. And it's just something we have fun with. And, you know, if you look into it though, you know, there's some stuff behind it. You know, I'm not going to get into it, but it's, you know, you either believe in it or you don't. It's fun either way. And I like it. You know, I think the smiley face, it just goes to show, like, I'm trying to have fun, but I'm also trying to turn that into a brand. You know, I realized that like merchandise was doing well, but also not everybody wants to wear a Josh Herrin shirt, you know, so they don't want to wear a shirt with my name on the back of it to dinner. You know, maybe they wear it at the race, but they don't want to go to dinner in it or somewhere with their family. So I want something that we can have fun with. And the smiley face was my best friend John's idea. He you know, he's the creative side of Josh Herrin. I'm the fast racer. John's the creative side, and Rachel's the smart side. So I got you know, the three eyes.
It's good.
But it's yeah, we're always just trying to have fun, and with YouTube, like, we're trying to push merchandise and stuff. So yeah, the smiley face was just something we're having fun with, and I love it. Hopefully trying to talk Arai into doing a replica out of it. That was Jeff. Part of my deal with Jeff from Arai was that we were going to get a replica helmet, and everybody's pushing for it on social media now. And so hopefully we see one soon, and that smiley face will be up there for sure.
All right, I'm gonna cut you loose here in a second. I just have one really important question, and I hope the answer is the one that I'm hoping for. But you know, I know there's the only reason I ask is I know there's one, you know, like across the street. But I'm just hoping that you didn't take Pablo Chiabatti to Olive Garden.
Yeah, I brought him some fresh lean.
Oh yeah, there you go.
No, I brought him to where did we go? When we were in Daytona, we took him to I was trying to think of some really shitty Italian chain.
Well, I think I nailed it.
No, dude, yeah, you did. We actually we went to this, I don't know if you heard about it, but in Daytona, it's called Mama Fufu. And it was actually pretty bomb. Apparently, you know, I think Faraci talked him into, if we win the 200, we're going there for a party afterwards. So yeah, Mama Fufu's in Daytona. That's where we'll end up if we win for sure, because they liked it. And it was like all the Italian guys. You had like all these, I guess you could call them like cougars. It was like a cougar den. We were like out by the bay, and there's like all these fancy yachts and stuff. And so there's like all these older ladies, good looking older ladies in there walking around, maybe looking for a guy, and all these Italian guys were just going nuts. They loved it. It was like their heads were gonna break. They were looking at all these people.
You may end up there every night.
That's a dangerous crowd, Josh, but you're going to get some good carb loading anyway. That's for sure.
It was the most fun that I've had at a race in a long time. These guys they're a fun crew to hang out with. And I think you guys will see, you know, if you guys are over there a lot, you'll see, I'm sure that you were over there a lot last year, but it seems like there's more Italians this year, and
Yeah.
it'll be fun for everybody in the paddock, I think, for sure. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The team is awesome, and it's cool. Another thing I just wanted to touch on, my crew chief, Marco, the one I told you is DG Antonio's crew chief. He worked for VR46 for a long time. He it was pretty crazy. Like I told him we had a talk, and he speaks pretty good English, but you know, still language barrier there. And I told him, you know, like, hey, I want to come in and just tell you what's going on with the bike, and that's it. I don't want to hear the explanation for why you're changing something. I don't want to hear what I should feel, what I shouldn't feel, or what you think the bike will do. I just want to tell you what I'm feeling, and I want to walk away, and that's it, because I don't want to overthink everything. And we talked a little bit about, you know, like rear brake, like, hey, he wants me to try using rear brake mid corner because all the GP guys are doing rear brake. I'm like, well, last year the guy I was working with didn't want me using the rear brake. He told me not to use it ever. Literally didn't even have a rear brake on the bike. I remember the first test I went to, I said, dude, there's no rear brake. I came in right away. Yeah, you don't need a rear brake. That's gonna affect the way the bike rides, and I don't want you using a rear brake. I'm like, dude, you need a rear brake. What are you talking about? You gotta drag the rear brake mid corner. No. And so I never had a rear brake all year. And this guy from Moto2 is telling me, hey, you need to use a rear brake. This is why the bike's doing this in the middle of the corner. And I'm like, yeah, no, I got to break through my head now to use it. Or, you know, there's some other weird stuff, man, that these years I've like had this gut feeling, like even about dragging my elbow. I feel like I would come in and tell the crew, like, I'm dragging my elbow, I feel good. And they'd look at me like, why are you bragging about dragging your elbow? Like, that's not what matters. Like, focus. Like, they'd always think I was just doing it because I thought it was cool. This guy was like, are you dragging your elbow? Is what he asked me in the first session.
Wow.
I was like, no. He's like, okay, you're not comfortable on the bike then. You need to be able to lean the bike over and be aggressive with the bike. And so it was so, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it made me feel so well inside to hear somebody saying these things that for years I've thought, but I feel like I was, in a way, like people were looking at me like, why do you care about that stuff? And it's all kind of coming full circle now. And like, I think that in America, we need to do a better job at looking to Europe at what they do and listening to the way that they talk about the motorcycles, because it seems like they're, you know, some steps ahead of us. And maybe there's some things that we do better, but it seems like for the most part, those guys, they treat it like they're in school. Like, this is all they care about. That's what they know. And there's a reason why the best riders in the world are over there. And so yeah, it's cool, man, having a different approach to the way that somebody's talking about the motorcycle was pretty neat. And I just wanted to kind of shout out to the guys on the team. The whole team is awesome to work with, and it's just refreshing. You know, I've obviously a great relationship with crew in the past. I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm just saying that it's a totally different approach, and just, I guess, the Italian lifestyle away from the track and at the track, just keeping positivity going, and just the way they're talking about the bike was really refreshing. That's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be really good for me. And yeah, I'm hoping, you know, you brought up Josh Hayes earlier. I'm hoping that I can afford to keep him around, because he helped me out a lot. I'm hoping that by me plugging Josh Hayes right now as a really great coach, maybe he'll get me a deal this year on some coaching at the track, because I need it.
There's any deals with that guy. I think he probably just raised the price knowing that you want him.
Oh, he wants me. Let's raise the price.
Maybe Rachel can babysit, you know,
There you go.
his two kids at the track in
Work her into
exchange.
the equation and she'll get it done. But as I've often thought, the world would be a better place with more Italians in it. And I think you're learning that, and you'll continue to learn that. So they're good people, and we're happy for you, Josh, that you've landed in a spot that will probably make you happy, and you'll win some races and maybe even a championship. So thanks for joining us today. And yeah, we'll see you down the road. Maybe we can go for a bicycle ride or something before we get to Daytona, but I'm sure we'll run into each other at some point.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I asked Paul if we could like set up this podcast at like Dofa Winery or somewhere cool, so we had like some cool motorcycle vibes. And he told me, I don't have any time for that. And then the first thing you talk about when you get on the podcast is how great your long bicycle ride was yesterday.
I
up the
wasn't
coast
long.
in the
It wasn't
sun.
long. It was just my little lunch break. Okay.
Well, truthfully, Josh, what it was is he knew I would feel bad because I couldn't be there with you. So you guys would be enjoying the sunshine, and here I'm on the phone, so.
All right, boys.
Well, Paul, you're welcome to come over for some Italian coffee at the truck anytime you want.
All right, I will do so. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thanks,
guys.
Josh.